Hi there, this is Therese Walsh, author of The Moon Sisters. I am so happy to be with you today to answer a few questions sent to me by Michelle Gable on behalf of the Women's Fiction Writers Association. And I'm privileged to have been chosen, to have The Moon Sisters chosen as the book club book of the month by the Women's Fiction Writers Association. So thank you, and I hope that you all enjoy The Moon Sisters. I'll just get right to the questions that Michelle sent to me because I have a tendency to ramble as it is. So let's get going. Oh, question number one. You founded the site Writer Unboxed, which is visited religiously by every writer I know. In fact, when writing this Q&A, I got sucked down into the rabbit hole of fantastic articles for at least an hour. Yay! How long has the site been active? What was the genesis for the idea? The site's been active since 2006. 2005, Kathleen and I, my co-founder, partner Kathleen Bolton and I came up with the idea to put together this website. At first, Kathleen especially was really kind of intrigued with the idea of doing something a little snarky, and we had the title Snark Bites. But then we sat with that for a little while and decided maybe it wasn't such a good idea to do something that could potentially alienate us from industry folk who we hoped would pick us up and fall in love with our stories. So we decided to stay with something positive and empowering for other writers, and Writer Unboxed was born. And, for a while, it was just the two of us, and we wrote essays, that were published Monday through Friday. And then we, felt like, we needed some fresh blood. And so we brought in some contributors, and, some have stayed and some have gone, but, there are about 30 or so contributors now, I believe. Juliette Marillier is, I think, our longest running contributor. I think she's been with us since 2008, possibly 2009, but for a long time. And, we're just really pleased that the site has grown the way it has, that it's become such a great community site. And, we kind of just had to get out of its way, I think, and let it become what it wanted to become. It became clear, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago or so that this wasn't a site people were going to go to and say, yeah, this is Therese Walsh's and Kathleen Bolton's website. They were going to say, this is a community website. And so we just started to call it a community website and just, like I said, get out of the way. Let it become what it wanted to become. So question number two, Yoga Journal picked the Moon Sisters as a top read for summer, and you've written many fitness-related articles. Are you a yoga enthusiast? If so, do you have a specific style you prefer? Are there other types of fitness you enjoy? First of all, I gotta say, it was such an honor to have been chosen by Yoga Journal. It was a complete surprise. I don't even know that my publicity team had sent a book to them. But it was a wonderful, wonderful surprise and definitely affected the numbers in a great way for a while. So thank you, Yoga Journal. I am less a yoga person and much more of a walker and a hiker, in part because I have a Jack Russell Terrier who really needs to have her walks, and I like to walk and I like to hike, and so that's really where I get most of my exercise. And I think it's important to get up, since we are on our behind so often as writers, to get up and move. So however you do it, I think it's important to do something. I'd say that. Question number three. I read you wore black when Joe Montana retired, which as a huge sports nut is absolutely something I would do. Are you a Montana fan or a 49ers fan? I am definitely a Joe Montana fan. I was always just so, I just so appreciated that he was never down for the count. Maybe there were 20 seconds left, and he would find a way to eke out, a touchdown and win the game. And I I like that in people too, just don't give up. If you want something, don't give up, never quit. And I think that's part of the reason I really was such a huge Joe Montana fan. And I was very irritated with the 49ers when they pitched Joe, and I thought it was fantastic that he was picked up for a while by Kansas City, and that when Kansas City played the 49ers, that Joe won, and it was one of his classic, last second touchdowns that won the game for Kansas City. So, just goes to show you. Next question. The Moon Sisters takes place in West Virginia. Do you have a personal connection to the area? No, I do not. But I did start to write a story before I began writing the Moon Sisters. I was writing something else, and it involved the bogs of West Virginia. And so, that story went into the drawer, and I worked on some other projects. But when it came time to write the Moon Sisters, I thought to go back to this atmospheric place and explore it a little bit more. And what I like to tell people is that the Moon Sisters utilizes something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. And the something old is that West Virginia setting. The something new is a condition called synesthesia, which is a neurological condition that I learned about. And it's a very intriguing thing where a person can have sort of their sensory areas are a little bit confused, you might say. So they might taste music or smell sights, and it's hard to imagine if you don't have synesthesia, and I don't have synesthesia, but I'm a psychology major, and I think that weird people things are really interesting. And so I dug in and learned quite a lot about synesthesia and really fell for it. And so that's the something new. The something borrowed is what I know about sisters. I have 2 sisters. And the something blue is bringing into the story what I knew about the loss of a parent. My father died at the age of 56, 17 years ago. And, that was something that my whole family had to work through, and, provided a lot of challenges for us. So that's what I'll say about that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here. So next question is, the book is a coming-of-age story about 2 sisters. Do you have a sister? And yes, I have 2. Why did you decide to feature this dynamic at the heart of the novel? That really is at the heart of the novel, and what it's about really is this recovery after losing someone, and how each person may have a different perception of loss and a different means for recovery. And I think that in my own family, I've seen such great difference in how that happens, but also that I think there have been times when maybe each of us hasn't respected the other's process for working through things as they should. And so perception became a very big part of the Moon Sisters, and is something that I pulled, from personal experience for. And I think using a synesthete in the story, as I did, I was able to really lean on this idea of perception, and someone who has very different perception of the world, and how that's hard to identify with. But I think ultimately having respect for everyone else's perception is an important thing, and especially when you're working through something so huge as as grief, personal grief. So that's really what the Moon Sisters is about at heart, is recovery of hope following a loss, and different perceptions. And finally, the last question is, let's see, you wrote, I also love Whose Line Is It Anyway? Who is your favorite performer, ad-libber on the show? And this is such a hard question, because I love all of them. I love them all, even the guests who are recurring guests. But if I'm pressed, I will probably have to say Colin Mochrie, because I have seen Colin live twice, and I haven't seen any of the other regulars. I haven't seen Ryan, and I haven't seen Wayne. Not that I wouldn't like to, I would, but I just haven't had the opportunity. But I have seen Colin, and he's so funny, and had the opportunity to meet him. And actually, my daughter was there at the show too, and she went up to Colin. And it was funny because after the show, Colin was there with Brad, and he was posing for photographs and signing things, and he had that smile on, which you could kind of tell he was so over it and wanted it to end. And even when I went up, I would have loved to have like cracked that shell, but no, not really. I kind of got the same smile. But my daughter was right after me, and she went up to him and she said, "I just want you to know you're my favorite person. You're my favorite person in the world." And he just broke into the biggest smile and he said, "Bless you, bless you." And I just say, how can you not love that man? He's fantastic. So anyway, that's it. I've answered all of Michelle's wonderful questions. I did have a couple of books I wanted to do just for a quick show and tell. And let's to show you 3 books. I'll just do 3 books. So one of the books that I utilized while researching for the Moon Sisters is a book by Carla Fine called No Time to Say Goodbye. And it's a story about recovering from loss when that loss is very unexpected, as it was when my father passed away, and as it was for Olivia and Jazz Moon when their mom died so suddenly. Another book that I read a lot is The Frog Who Croaked Blue by Jamie Ward, PhD. And I had the honor of, this is a book on synesthesia, and I had the honor of interviewing Dr. Ward. He was very helpful to me as I was constructing this character of Olivia Moon, who is the most fascinating character certainly I've ever imagined. And just telling me, I just said, "Can I do this and this? Can she have this and this and this? And what would happen?" And he's like, "Yes, yes, you can, you can, you can." I'm like, "Yes, thank you." I just needed one person to say go. So he was great. And the other book I wanted to show you is this book called Hopping Freight Trains in America by Duffy Littlejohn. And you can see it was a well-researched book here, well-researched topic. Duffy Littlejohn is not an actual name. It is what's called a train name. So if you are a train hopper, you probably know that you don't want to use your real name on the rails. You want to choose a moniker and go by that name. And so Duffy Littlejohn is a train name. And there are some other train names in the Moon Sisters, so you get to meet some train hoppers along the way. So that's it. I really hope that you enjoy the story, and please feel free to reach out to me, ask me any questions you have. I love talking about the process of writing. I love talking about the Moon Sisters, and again, so honored to have been chosen as the Women's Fiction Writers Association Book of the Month. So thank you very much, and happy reading and happy writing. Bye.